Good day, everyone. Welcome to this Blueworks Live overview. The way we're going to do this today is if you have any questions throughout the session, feel free to type them in. And at the end of the session, we'll cover each of one of those questions, okay? So the way we're going to do this today is we're going to be presenting the tool through a process discovery story. This way, you get a bit of a good understanding of how you would use this tool on a day-to-day basis. So the story is as follows. We are a mid-sized company, and we started as a startup 5 years ago. And what we noticed in the beginning, of course, as a small company, everything is pretty ad hoc, right? You develop your processes as you go along. You make things up as you go along. But as you go larger, your processes become more complex. You're going to have more people. You're going to have more steps developing in your organization. So what happened is that recently we had a new CEO and who joined the company, and he's told us to basically grow up. You were a startup, but now you got 1,000 people in the organization, and you're operating in 5 countries. So I think it's time to standardize and optimize our processes. And the first step towards process improvement, of course, is process development. And what happened in the olden days is a lot of these processes were living in people's heads. We just did things like we used to. And the problem with that is if people leave the company and we got new people joining, it takes a lot of time to explain to them how the processes actually work. So it takes a long time for them to actually, become familiar and become more efficient into their task. So the first step is process discovery. And because we have a lot of locations now, it's become very difficult to actually document these processes because we use simple tools like Visio, Word, and Excel, and we noticed that our documents were all over the place. We didn't really have a central location where we could put them, but also where we can update them. So the team that we have is as follows. So the CEO assigns me, Mike, to be the business analyst and to lead the project. So I've been in the company the longest of all the people, and I'm based in Sydney. We have a colleague called Bill. Bill works in the Singapore office. So he's in charge of the supply chain management, but also he's a change manager as well. And then our manager is Rachel. She's a line of business manager responsible for group finance in Melbourne. And we have to make sure that our reporting is consistent with her financial figures as well. So those are the 3 people in our story today: Mike, Bill, and Rachel. And what we decided that we needed with a tool, with our team, is a tool that is easy to use. I mean, we had process analysts before, but they were mostly concerned with detailed modeling, and we didn't want to have a tool that only 1 or 2 people could use. We wanted to have a tool that is easy to pick up for all of the people. And the reason behind that is eventually we want the actual people that are responsible for the process to be able to update the process and also give us input when it comes to process documentation and process discovery. So it needs to be a tool that's easy to use for novices. It needs to be accessible anytime, anywhere using a browser. We don't want to deal with file systems anymore because it's also a bit difficult with versioning, right? Versioning files is a bit of a pain. We wanted to have strong documentation capabilities because as we move towards ISO certification, we need to be able to document our operations basically. We really wanted to have strong collaborative features. I think this is the most important point for us. We wanted to be easy to use by multiple people across distances. Single source of truth, that's a given. And we also wanted to have governance capabilities, approvals, because we notice as well, if people document a process, they do it once, and then they put it into a file, and then nobody looks at it anymore after the project is finished. The next time when you have a new project, we have to start all over again because that information is maybe 3 years old. So we wanted to have a feature that will alert people that it's time to review the process and it's time for them to update the process, right? If you assign ownership of an asset to somebody, this person will take better care of it instead of just having a generic, folder. So let's start with a demonstration. And the way we're going to do it is using a few different windows. So Mike is going to be here. So he will be on the left. And we're going to have Bill on the right. Hey, Bill. So this is Mike, as you can see. It's Mike. And here we have Bill. Okay. Now, as you can see, as you're logged in as Mike, I can see Bill. And as Bill, I can see Mike. All right. So what we have here are a few different tabs: work, community, and library. Work is any assigned work that you get, for example, to review something. You might have an approval process, a step that you have to look at. Community is all the things that actually have happened inside your company, inside your account. You see a lot of things that's happened, and you can see exactly who has made what change in which process. And you can also see anything that you have as particular interest to. Followed items is showing up in this particular tab. But we're going to get started with our library. And over here, we see our spaces, which are basically the main part, the main holder for our information, which is basically a folder. So we're going to create a new space. And we're going to go supply chain management, supply chain process. There we go. All right. And what we want to do is improve efficiency by 15%. Okay, so that's our description. Sorry, that's actually not our description. That is our goal. So that's our goal. And the description is the supply chain process. Okay. There's a goal. And how important is that goal? You can say it medium, high. That's really most important things. And reduce errors by 20%. Okay, so that's a secondary goal that we have. Now over here we have our main canvas, and we're going to create a new, we can either create a new subspace, a process blueprint, a process application, a policy, or decisions. We'll get to those later on. Let's do a process blueprint. That's the main part, supply chain process. Okay. So over here we have our few milestones. So now what I want to do, I want to make this together with Bill. So I'm going to say, hey Bill, need your help. Bill, need your help. And I'm going to send a link to the page to Bill. So Bill will now see a message over here. So hey Mike, yeah, all right, okay, I will give you a hand. So you're over there. Let me navigate to the same page as well. So supply chain management. And what is our first milestone? Well, I think it's order capture. Order capture. And then we have fulfillment. And then we might have, let's see, billing. Okay, we'll do, these are three main phases. What do you think? What do you think, Bill? Okay, sounds good. Let me know what you need from me. Now, of course, I don't need to have the chat window. I can also just give Bill a call, right? All right. And then we're going to process form, because that's the way we get our sales orders. Going to process a form. We're going to validate the order items. And then what are we going to do now, Bill? Because Bill, you're in charge of the fulfillment center. Yeah, that's right, Mike. So over here, what I normally do is I'll check stock levels. And then I will actually put the put order on picking list. And I also will then put order on shipping manifest. Let's do that. All right, and this is really important, so let me make that different color. Yeah, Mike, I think that's those are the main steps that I do. All right, let's go back to you, Mike, for the billing. So when it comes to the billing, we will then put entry in SAP, and we'll send out invoice. Okay, so SAP. So if you double click, let me double click here, and because for the entry in SAP, the participant is actually system, and the actual system itself is SAP. When it comes to send out an invoice, we'll still do it manually. So we have the accounts payable clerk do that, and she or he usually takes a few hours to create the invoice. Let's say 2 hours, and they have an internal cost of $50. Okay. How about your internal cost, Bill? Well, Mike, when I check the stock levels, that's the warehouse manager. He does that, and it will take them, let's see, 2 hours to do. We got a cycle time of half an hour and internal cost of $40. And we're putting the order on the picking list. It's also the warehouse manager that does that, and it will take him, let's say, 1 hour, some cycle time, some wait time, and some internal costs. Okay. Now what I want to do, Bill, I want to actually convert this to a process diagram. So now that we know our main steps, let's move from our discovery map to a process diagram. All right, so it's creating the diagram. Bill, go ahead and switch your view as well. All right, I'm going to switch views as well. And what I want to do now, I want to create some more, decisions, right? For example, check stock levels. Bill, what happens when you don't have enough items in stock? Well, Mike, if that's the case, let me put in a decision here. You have to say no stock. What I would do then is I'll send you a notification. I'll send notification to head office saying there's not enough stock. And what I also will do is I will update order system. Okay, so those are the two things that you would do. Yep, exactly right. So it's getting a little bit messy. Maybe what I can do is I can select these two steps and make it a sub-process. Okay, insufficient stock. So I can then expand or minimize those steps. I might have some more steps over here, but let me just make this a small sub-process for notification and order system. Okay, so over here, when this happens, let me change the color. I'm going to make this red, Yeah, and then the other one, I'm going to make this green. All right, can you see this, Mike? Yeah, no problem. I can see it. Good detail. Any other activities or any steps that are happening inside the warehouse, the fulfillment center? No, I think that's good. That's good enough for now, Mike. All right, let's go back to you, Mike. All right, so when it comes to sending out the invoice, let's see here, accounts payable clerk, and we also still have 2 unassigned tasks. So processing form, that's going to be done by, let's just do this whole swim lane, give it a name. Let's just say ordering center. So people in the ordering center will do this work, they validate work items, but this one, ordering shipping manifest. What do you think, Bill? Should it be done by the ordering? No, I don't think so, Mike. Let me just move it up into the fulfillment area. Okay, scroll to the right. Now Mike is saying, okay, that all looks good. Enter in SAP. Yep, maybe we can move this whole swim lane down, like the system's down. Yep. And okay, I think that's looking good. Any other details? Yeah, let's put some more details in terms of processing time, some more due dates, because then we can show the analysis mode as well later on. So internal costs. So these properties, right? You can actually change them. So you can add your own custom properties. You can also hide the existing one that comes out of the box. So you can have any properties that you want. So it's completely configurable, those properties that you see over there. Now, when it comes to problems, those are the other tabs. You can say, hey, incorrect data, for example. So I see I've used that one before, so I can use that one again. Don't have to type the whole thing in. And errors, or info has errors, yep. And this happens quite often. This one doesn't really happen that often, okay? Now, how about you in the warehouse? Well, in the warehouse, sometimes when we have insufficient stock, or when we put the order on the picking list, there's some errors. So let's see, there's some risk over here. We've got to control risk. No there. And the problems that we have is that the insufficient trucks. Sometimes there's no trucks available, so we have to call them insufficient trucks. That's pretty severe, right? And packing errors, that happens sometimes. They don't pack it into a perfect box, basically. So the pallet it's unstable. There's some policies over here as well. So we got an original sales of the process that was documented last year in the Word document. I just wanted to attach that to this step so that people could reference to it if they wanted to. You can see here that this policy actually has two references. There's a hyperlink, and this is Word docx document. So I can click on it, it will download it as well. So I think that's quite convenient, Mike. The whole fact that you can actually separately manage the policies, attachments, basically. First of all, you can have many references, but also you can see where it's being used. This policy has been used by two spaces and two processes. There's a sales order process and a supply chain process. That's the one that we did, that somebody else did before. And so you can actually see that this policy has been used 3 times in different areas. So that makes it easy to change it, because if I would change and update this document, all of those processes will have the updated version. I think that's pretty handy, Mike. Yeah, it's pretty good, Bill, much better than we used to have. So I think let's order one more property. Let's add one more property. Let's see the last one, SAP. That's a system activity. This one validates. Yeah, this one doesn't have a due date yet. 50, 30, and 20. Let's just put some items over here and some problems. Incorrect code, item code. Okay, let's do that. Here we go. Okay, I think this process looks pretty good. What do you think, Bill? Yeah, Mike, I think this looks pretty good. I think it's time to start analyzing it. Maybe you want to discuss this process with Rachel. Okay, thanks, Bill. Catch you later, Mike. So what I'm going to do now, I want to now discuss this project with Rachel. The way I'm going to do this, luckily Rachel is in the office with me, so I can just, I don't have to use this collaboration, but I'm just going to use the analysis features. So when you have the process on the right hand side, you see 2 buttons, playback and analyze. So Rachel, welcome to the meeting. I just want to share with you this process that I created with Bill. And I wanted to get your opinion on the financial aspect. So let's click on Analyze. So this is a process that we have built so far. And I want to bring your focus not just to the people, but I want to bring your focus to the costs. As you are the finance lady, I think you'll be interested in the actual cost that we have assigned to each step. Just want to get your feedback. Is this a correct view of the actual cost? That's looking pretty good, Mike. Yep, I think the cost looks pretty good. Now, how does it relate to the actual work time? Can we see a relationship there? Yeah, Rachel, I think we can overlay it with the actual work time. So now you can see the actual cost and then the work time in one view. Does this kind of look correct? Does this look like a realistic depiction of the cost? Well, I can see here already, Mike, $50 for 2 minutes, and then we have, $60 for 15 minutes. That's kind of weird. Why is that so expensive? That's a good point. Maybe we should investigate that. How about versus cycle time? So now we can look at cycle time and see different values. Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting. Can you also put in the wait time? Yep, can put wait time as well. And I think that's about it. Otherwise, it gets a little bit too much. You can still expand it, but we get a lot of data now on the actual screens. All right, cycle time, work time, cost. So a little bit much. You can even put everything on it. That's too much. Let's just work with work time and wait time and cost. Okay. So I understand now how it works, Mike. I can also see that your custom properties are visible as well. Yeah, that's pretty good. Can you actually walk me through the process, right? I want to understand, the difference between the cost for a normal process versus an exception process. All right, Rachel, in order to do that, let me just get out of the analysis mode and go to playback mode. Now, let me just first record the two scenarios. Let's do the happy path first. I'm going to give a scenario, and then I'm going to click on the actual activities that are in the happy path. And then I'm going to go record the second scenario, which is the insufficient stock scenario. I'm going to start here, 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 and it goes there, and it goes there, and then it goes to the end. Okay. Now, let's play back the happy path first. And you said you wanted to focus on the cost, right? Or the work time. Let's focus on the work time. Okay, now it's overlaid the work time. And I can play through the scenario by clicking next, next, next. And as I click, you can see that the total work time for this path is 2 hours, 5 minutes so far. 2 hours, 7 minutes. Okay, let me just go back. And I can see also each of those properties for each of those activities that are currently active right now. See, that's not currently active. I can also see some of the problems that might happen, that might have influence on the actual, work time. So if I now go to the second part, the exception time, process form, validate, then it goes here. You see, it's a much shorter working time, and the cost, of course, the cost is 120. Compared to the full process, it's just more expensive, of course, because we're simply doing more activities. Okay, does that make sense to you, Rachel? Yeah, Mike, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm happy that you can actually play through the process, especially because a lot of different paths are available, are possible through this process. And it's good that you can actually show the different properties as you play through the process. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. I think the process is clear. I'm happy with it. You keep going. All right. So now that we have finished, I might want to create a snapshot. Ready for testing. Give that a name. So once I have a snapshot, I can click on it. I will see the state. You can view the snapshot state here. I can go back to my most recent view. And with the snapshot, there's a couple of actions I can perform. I can restore the snapshot. I can publish it. Or I can launch a process. Let's do that. Let's launch a process, and let's launch an approval process. Okay, because we want to ask for official approval before we can publish it. So we're going to call this Q4 2009 review. Please check. And we can see it's related to the supply chain process. So this is the template that I built before. So even though I built it before, I might be able to change the steps. So review, not Mike. I want Bill maybe to review it, and then Rachel. She's part of finance approval, and the updates. Let's make it myself. There we go, Mike. Okay. We got that. We'll give it a due date. There we go. You can see if it's approval step or not. So everybody has a due date. Okay, I will be notified when the process is completed or cancelled. Okay, so you can add additional steps, sequential tasks, parallel tasks, yada yada yada. So a lot of different things. I can still add it to the actual process itself. Then I click launch. So it goes to Bill and then Mike. All right. So now the process has been launched to Bill. Let me go to Bill. What Bill will see is, first of all, notification in his email box, but also he will see the review diagram in his work tab. So when I go to his email I can see, there's a new task in Blueworks Live, yada yada. Okay, I can click here to launch it. Now, of course, I see it over here as well. I can open it over here, and I can see that I have to review the supply chain process, and I can then complete the task. Now, so all looking good. Okay, so Bill now has seen it, and he has approved it. He's going to complete it. Then we'll go to me, Mike. So I will get an email update as well, but of course I also get the notification here in my inbox. So now as Mike, I can then also look at the process by clicking on it, and I can then also approve or reject the actual item. Approve or reject. Then it goes to Rachel. Now Rachel has a different browser. She is using Edge. Here we go. And it goes to Blueworks Live. Blueworkslive.com. That's where she can log in. There we go. IBM next. And then she will be able to look at her logging in. And Rachel will go to a work tab and see the finance approval item over there as well. So see Mike and Bill have already done the items. So now as you can see both of them online as well. And then Rachel can give the final approval. Here we go. So that's the final approval for this specific version, the snapshot. And let's get back to Mike. So now what happens is the actual item is now ready, and now we can publish the item. So what happens when you publish it, it becomes visible to read-only users, right? So read-only users are users that can't do anything except reading it. So only when it's published, they'll be able to read them. Okay. Now let's go back to our space and let's have a quick chat about the other two items that we have. Those are my favorite spaces, but let's look at supply chain management. It's the one we just created. Okay, now let's make it my favorite so it shows up next time. And now we can create other things like a policy, supply chain management policy. There we go. Over here, like I said, you could then add a file attachment or a hyperlink. SCM, original docs, my company, com/docs/ ready. So that's the hyperlink to a document, or I can just do a file attachment, right? There we go. All right, so now that one is completed. And I can then use the supply chain management policy into my my process. Of course, I misspelled it. It's going to SCM. Here we go. Simple as that. Now, one other thing I can do is add a rule. Shipping costs. Shipping costs. Let's create a decision by using a table. I have some considerations. Weight, and I want to have another consideration. You can see here, plus, I said consideration, and country. Now here the conclusion is price. So if it's under 500 grams, and the country is Singapore, price is $3. If it's under more than 500 and less than 1 kilogram, that'll be $5. Okay, so this is a table that I can potentially use. I can also have additional sub-decisions, right? And the weight or the country could be based on, well, origin, country, and I might have destination country. So those are two inputs. Origin country, if that's Singapore, and destination country is Australia, then I might add an extra fee of $2, right? If it's Singapore and I go to India, I might have extra fee of $5. Okay, so what I then can do is inside the original decision, okay, I can then conclusion, and I can have the extra fee. So that will be the extra fee from that original table. So you can kind of build up all those components, right? So you can add a decision tree basically. Here, go here, go here, goes here, and then it goes into the shipping costs. So you can actually create pretty complex decisions over here inside this decision editor. And then when you go back to your process, you can say, well, shipping, instead of doing that, we might want to also calculate shipping cost. Calculate shipping cost. Instead of having normal activity, we have a decision task. Then we will go there, we can do the decision, and we have the shipping cost. So now it's part of the process, right? Shipping cost. And when we click on it, we'll actually see the decision table that's been used over there. So it's really to document some of the decisions that you might have inside your process. If you want to have a sales order or a sub process or link process, right? Let's say we already have a sales order process. We wanted to have a link to a process. So we have some other process over here. You can search for it, sales order process, and now it becomes part process. Okay, linked sales order process. So that is a link process. We can follow that process as well. That's another different process altogether. That process linked from supply chain process, and we can go back and forward. So you can create multiple levels of process maps inside your organization. That's the way you should organize as well. You should organize those process maps according to the function that you have in your organization, like HR or shipments. You can also then have different level of details, your global processes, your regional processes, your departmental processes. Okay, so that's, I've come to the end of the actual physical demo. What I want to share with you is a few references as well. When it comes to Australia and New Zealand, these are the main references that we have in this area. So that's just for Australia and New Zealand. You see Westpac, MSD, HealthShare, AMP, Telstra. But across the region, we got actually hundreds more. We got clients in Singapore, in India, in Malaysia, all over the place. So if you are interested in a particular reference in a particular industry, just email me and I'll find a particular reference site or case study, and I'll send it to you for more information. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to open the line for any questions.